Hello, my little wordlings. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, we look at books mostly from a writerly perspective. I say mostly so I can fuck around whatever I want. And today we're looking at books in my collection that are told from what I consider a feminist point of view. It could be argued that anything written by a woman, for a woman, by a woman, could be a seminal feminist text. That's up to you. Some of them are very obvious, some of them you might argue with me about. But let's see. So, first one is Mamatoto, A Celebration of Birth. This was put out by The Body Shop. I bought this used years ago, but it has beautiful photos of different cultures and how they give birth and what their cultures do around mothering, and it's honestly nice to see that there's a lot of overlap. There's some stuff I wish we did in our culture. There's some stuff that's obviously I'm really glad that we have certain ways that we do it, but it was very interesting to learn. And again, if you know how the world works, there's some powers that want to divide us, but things like this bring us together. Books like this, stories like this bring us together because we see the commonalities and we see the things that we want to learn. So yes, I always have a high horse to get on. I'm not editing anything, so you get to see me try to put books down too. This one, What Should We Tell Our Daughters? The Pleasures and Pressures of Growing Up Female by Melissa Ben. This book, if you were looking for something a little, I hate to say it, a little dry, but analytical and very to the point, like there's very little emotion in this book, but that doesn't mean I didn't learn anything from it. But as a writer, I would have chosen a different way to put things, but then that's my style. I would always self-insert. Some people prefer not to self-insert, and a lot of people prefer to read books where someone doesn't self-insert, their opinions or whatnot. Like, obviously, if you're writing the book, you have some kind of opinion on the subject, but you're not saying, well, in my family, or I learned, or it's this person wrote this has been observed in society, blah, blah, blah. So if you're looking for that kind of book, this is a really good read. But if you want something that's less, is more personal, then this wouldn't be for you. I dropped it. Okay, this one I was given for my birthday when I was in university, Bitchfest. It's a bunch of articles from Bitch Magazine. It was, so there's no theme. It's just their best articles, the ones that were better received. I'm assuming, I don't remember actually. I don't think me reading it right now is gonna, I think it was just the staff picked their favorites because this was before internet and voting and stuff. Don't tell me how old I am. I know how old I am. But it was a great read. It was fun. I love Bitch Magazine because it stirs up all those emotions in you that you're like, yes, I want to fight for rights, and I want to fight for my rights and rights for other people. And the personal is political, and, all the catchphrases and buzzwords kind of get you hyped up to be a feminist, and you might self-describe as a feminist, but this book will kind of hype you as to why you want that label in your life. So if you hear any noise, I got a dog that is looking at me like I'm the worst person in the world for not petting her, and my husband is playing Call of Duty and he might start yelling at some teammates. Okay, so this book I bought as a teenager. I've had this book for like 20 some years. Working Sex, An Odyssey into Our Cultural Underworld, Marianne Macy. Now, for a book that was written that long ago, everyone expects things from the 90s to and early 2000s to be a little more conservative in their stance on things. And no, it was back then they were saying sex work is work. Leave these women alone. Don't subjugate them. Don't treat them as second-class citizens for the type of work that they've decided to do. And they deserve protections and anything else that will give them a safe working environment and be able to live a safe life. So I learned this at a very early age, and I'm really glad I did. I hate that it's because all genders do sex work, but it's usually female sex work that brings about the change and brings about, what's the word I'm looking for? Change, and shows the importance of things. And there's pictures in it, which is great. I remember this was really well written, and when I say a teenager, I was probably 18 when I read this, and if I could understand it and I gleaned something from it, that means anyone can. So highly recommended. And here we have a classic, Vagina Monologues by V. I believe that's what she calls, or they call themselves right now. I don't remember if they changed their pronouns. I just know that when I look them up online now, it just says V. But the Vagina Monologues is classic. Now, I've actually never seen it performed except for in a couple of interviews with V, but reading it has just as much potency, I guess you could say. And I'm just seeing now there's Fibonacci circle everywhere. Wonder why that is. Anyway, but it's fun, it's funny, and it tells some sad and heartbreaking stories in a humorous way, which is always my favorite thing to do. So yes, read it and watch it if you can. So my Canadian friends will know this. Sex XX by Sue Johanson. Sue Johanson used to run a show. It was broadcast in the States as well. It was called the Sunday Night Sex Show, and everybody stood up to watch it. Adults, kids, everybody learned from this woman. I was so lucky to be able to meet her. It was only for a minute, and I was just so excited. I didn't even know what to say to her. She came and spoke at my university. Everything she wrote, everything she says was entertaining, informative, inclusive. You never felt like you were alone or you were weird around this woman. Rest in peace, my wonderful teacher, because she was all our teacher. I never read anything by Dr. Ruth. I know she was the one that was very prominent in the States, but Sue Johansson's my girlie. I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, Headscarves and Hymens, Why the Middle East Needs a Sexual Revolution by Mona El-Tahawi. Please don't get mad at me. I'm so sorry if I ruined that last name. This was such a great book to read. It was a combination of tragic and lighthearted, and it was written for everyone to be able to read and learn something. So yes, very awesome book. Another classic, The Yellow Wallpaper. Sometimes I wonder if I wouldn't have read this in school if I would have liked it as much, because I didn't see certain details until it was part of an assignment where I had to look for those details. And once you are that deep into the story, it becomes the best story you've ever read. And this is just one short story, and it is survived to this day because it says so much in so few words. So that's all I can really say about it. Yes, if you can find this in a collection, or if you can find it by itself, there might be even a free copy online, because I think the copyright's expired on it. Go look at it. Ooh, this was good. We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Yes, this was, I believe, if I'm wrong, I'm always wrong. No, this was part of a TEDx talk, and there's very few people who can write a speech, and it's the same with writing a play, where it's just as powerful on the page as it is to hear in person, or even like online, whatever, you know what I mean. So that talent, I wish I could pinpoint what it is. I don't know if it's the choice of words, if it's the pacing. I have to assume there's some pacing involved, which is why it almost sounds like poetry. So if that is something that you want to do with your writing, this is a good place to start. And easy read, very short, but very good. This one I liked and I didn't like. Sex and World Peace, Valerie M. Hudson, Bonnie Bailiff Spanville, Mary Caprioli, and Chad Emmett. I did learn a lot from it, but I thought I was going to get more personal stories in this, especially with a title like this, because it, like, even the font is so bold and so eye-catching. It's like they want you to read it, but it wasn't very accessible to the average person who wants to read this type of book. So, again, that is very appealing to some people if you're doing research. If that's just the kind of nonfiction you like to read, this is great for you. For me, I prefer the personal stories. And now, my favorite feminist book. One of my favorite books of all time, actually, by Inga Muscio, Cunt. And it has stood the test of time. There is, except for the price. This was $22.50, and I remember thinking this was an expensive book, but I still wanted it, and I still bought it brand new. And it's, can you imagine how much this probably costs now? But oh my god, some of the resources, I wonder, there's a lot of resources at the back, a lot of websites. I don't think they're particularly valid anymore, but Marvel, lie down. That was not me knocking it for once, that was the dog. But yes, everything you want from a nonfiction book: humor, personal stories, resources, learning things that you didn't realize were issues. Everything you want is in this tiny little cunterific package. Every person needs to read this book, and I am not exaggerating. Maybe a little, but whatever. So, I hope you enjoyed that little journey with me and some of my favorite feminist reads, and I hope you pick some of these up, if not to learn for your own craft, but just so you can feel more empowered to fight for what's right for you. I hope you have a good brain day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.